to stay on the move. Battle space awareness. Battle space awareness. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The title of this talk today is Battle Space Awareness. And I would like to start by, we know that many of our themes, re-Africanization of the Islamic movement in America, or in the West, de-Israelization of the Islamic movement in North America. Then comes battle space awareness. Battle space awareness is the awareness and understanding of the battle space, or theater of operations. Today's war, we are battling for the minds and hearts of humanity. We must rise to the occasion of our time and act in a heroic level. We must harness all the tools we have at our disposal, media, books, internet, movies, CDs, DVDs, to raise the banner of Islam. The Islamic Institute has chosen psychological guerrilla warfare as its strategy for combating global Zionist American hegemony. Psychological guerrilla warfare gives a small organization with limited resources and understanding, discipline, courage, and deeply rooted faith to make the best of our situation. We believe in the eventual rise of Islam, that is truth, and the steady decline of Zulm, Shirk, and Kufr. We must take care to unify and coordinate all of our forces for good in our area of operation. So a little bit what we want to talk about is battle space awareness, what it means to our struggle, how we see the battle space, how the system sees the battle space, and the historical, confrontational, generational struggle of haq and batil. In other words, there's always been this struggle between haq and batil. And every generation seems to get the opportunity to deal with whatever it is in their environment that they have to challenge to lead the world toward good. It just so happens at this time, how should I put it? Was it last night or the night before? I watched a couple of programs on television. One was World War I. It was some pictures taken in 1919. It was a new aerial photography. You know, they could fly in planes. There had never been in history where you could fly over an area and take pictures of the enemy. And a pioneer in that, in 1919, the year after the war, was a French guy who flew over all the existing battlefields and took pictures of it, and that went into a big file. So they went over a lot of World War I and the Battle of the Somme and the trench warfare and tactics that they used. The thing about World War I, it was the first. World War I brought the world into the 20th century. Because all the things that they were using in World War I was different than all the other wars before. This is the first time they have mechanized battleships, what they call dreadnoughts. You remember seeing pictures of these huge battleships with 16-inch guns. I mean, battleships that the world had never seen before. All of it mechanized. They had airplanes, tanks. These are things that had never been, they had all just invented. They was all brand new. Some say that 60 million people died in World War I, some say 50 million. But there were battles and trench warfare where they was showing a song. It was 1 million people over that long period back and forth that died on one battlefield. France lost a whole generation. That's why the 369th, the Harlem Hell Fighters, they were overseas digging trenches, digging graves, the American troops. And the French saw them digging graves, they say, y'all don't want them in this? They said, can we have them? They took off American uniforms. They fought under French uniforms. French tactics, they're the most decorated people in World War I, African Americans, fighting under the French. The Croix de Guerre and all the big, they got them more days in the trenches, more of everything. They did. That's why during the 20s and the 30s, all the black people could leave here and go to France. You know why? The French people loved black people. Because they almost saved France. They loved black people. You look at Josephine Baker, anybody you think about in the early days, and they had it bad here, they would go there. Well, they would go to Amsterdam and Holland. When I first started, the end of those days was still, they loved black people. That's what I'm saying. The next thing I looked at was another historical thing. It was called Twice. It's a Japanese guy just died in 2007 or 8. He was a victim of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Both. He was an engineer, shipbuilder, something, and he had a mission to go to Hiroshima. When he was there, the bomb, they blew it up. He lived through it, finally got on a train, and he got back to his head office in Nagasaki. And you know, the Japanese didn't put it on the news what happened, but people knew something. They said, what happened? He told them, a fireball this big. He's an engineer, so he can describe. He says it did this, and the bodies, you could walk over them. They were in the rivers and lakes, and the skin was dripping down. And they looked at him like he was crazy. Before he could finish telling them what happened, you see a big flash of like, shh, second atomic bomb. He survived both of them. And he lived to be 93 years old. And he didn't talk about it much because, first of all, he had a little son that was in the Nagasaki. He was about 6 months old or 5 years, something like that. His son died of cancer way before he passed away. When his son died, he told his wife and his daughter, I'm going to tell the people about this nuclear weapons, and he wanted to work toward total denuclearization. He said, I bet I haven't spoken out in 40, by that time, 40-something years, you know. So his daughter hadn't got married yet. And his wife is telling him, don't do it, because the people that lived through through both bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were like, had a strike against them. People didn't want to marry them. No, because of the genetic, remember, just like the depleted uranium, what they do to children, the birth defects. And he said, his wife said, our daughter, she's maybe 20, so she's not married yet. If you go and you're going to destroy your chances of getting married. So he was quiet. Okay. But finally, he started speaking. He'd speak at the UN, he would speak to children, American children. Now, he's one of the only ones left. It was a few people that survived both bombings, but he's the, you know, he's the guy that, for real, can you imagine you survive, and you survived a long time to be healthy. He had a few health problems during the time, but most people, he said, look how lucky you are. So it's like, look what happened to everybody else. Look at their health. Look how, you know, you're ready to retire and all that. But here's what was striking me about all this. The human being is a real piece of work, to say the least. Now, look at us. Look at the people who's controlling the world. They're a bunch of idiots, man, at best. I'm talking about the good ones is idiots. They don't seek to solve no problem. It don't make no difference. Not the Caribbean, but in the South Sea Islands, whole countries are disappearing. I mean, they don't report it much, but some of the places have lost 20% of their country. Where it used to be a road, even in Hawaii, where it used to be roads along, those things are gone now. You have to build another road up a little higher. And at high tide now, Hawaii, a lot of stuff just, and it's eroding. Forget about, you know, the Quran and the Bible talk about signs. These signs, a hurricane, what is it, 600 miles wide?
And you see right now, it's just sitting over top.
Yeah.
It's just sitting over top of Carolina. It ain't went nowhere. Just dropping rain.
Just dropping rain. And they're telling people the worst is yet to come. Forget about this thing, it's all over, but technically, the rivers will flood, and those people that aren't flooded now, you will be flooded soon. So, the battle space, what it means to our struggle. The battle space is the total theater in which we're fighting. It's a multi-layered, multi-level, multiple characteristics of the whole battle space. And we're right in the middle of that. So, this is how we see the battle space. It shows right here: psychological guerrilla warfare, idealism, strategic thinking, all of those things. If it's a little too chilly, you can push the button up just a little bit. It is getting a little teeny chilly. So, I'm going to try to speed it up. How do we see the battle space? How does the system see the battle space, and how do they see us? When they look at us, when everybody looks at us, mostly, they do the normal mathematics. They say, well, 100%. This is a full-fledged minority move. It's totally surrounded by the government, and it has been for decades. Totally, totally, totally surrounded. They have no visible support. We have weakened and ran away literally everybody that might loan them some support. That's the way they see it. And technically, the way they see it, from their point of view, is correct. That they have all the physical, material, and everything on their side. That is clear. So, and when the people see it, they see the same thing. They're going to use win or lose. It's not possible for those ideas to become successful. It's just not possible. That's the way they would look at it. And the government would look at itself and look at what it has, and at first it would come to the same conclusion. But after series of events after events, trial after trial, you've got to realize that eventually the government itself is going to begin to look at the battle space a little bit different than the people. The people are like the people of Pharaoh. You don't have to worry about the people. They're going to be convinced of the system, that the system always wins. You can't fight City Hall. And with modern FBI, CIA stuff we don't even know about, everybody knows that they're living under a police state. The white folks talk everything. It's not that. So when they look at us, or the system sees the battle space, they see that the Negro can't make it. That's what they see. They don't have nothing going for itself. That's part of it. Then it's how we see the battle space. Well, if we don't have people, we don't have money, we don't have all that stuff, well, what do we have? You have to think about it. What do we have? Okay. That's something that's very important. what about just history? This history. Now you got to remember, the Quran tells you certain things. In the early years, you have certain things, but you grow and develop. I would like to read something from Revelation. This is semi-scriptural, book of Revelation. But it's a historical account. Everybody would remember we all used to always refer to America as Babylon. This is Revelation 18. After this, another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his splendor. He called out with a mighty voice, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. It has become a dwelling place of demons and a haunt of every foul spirit, a haunt of every foul bird, a haunt of every foul and hateful beast." So Babylon the Great, now, and the old book we used to study this verse and maybe the one after, and that was it. But we want to deal with all of Revelations this time. And we want to look at the characteristics of the fall of Babylon. Just the opening is become a place full of all kind of fornication, adultery, everything that used to be, considered unnatural is now natural for America. So technically, it has become a haunt of every foul spirit, a haunt of every foul bird, a haunt of every foul and hateful beast. For all the nations have drank the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxury. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, so that you do not take part in her sins, and so that you do not share in her plagues." Let's go over 3.